All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the World Championship Series Challenger here for day number 3, as we've already concluded our first series of the day, and now we move on to series number 2. It's going to be another Terran versus Terran in ForGG versus our newcomer in souL.
This is meant to be a bop, as ForGG is the king of Terran versus Terran, is one of the most successful players we've ever had within the World Championship Series. ForGG is a legend, as some may say. And he's been 2-time top 4, 2 times in the top 8. This guy's a killer. souL has been in Challenger once, a long, long time ago. This is not meant to be close.
No, not at all. So ForGG looking dominating in this matchup for the longest time. He is a conqueror of Europe. He is one of the kings here in Europe. He is a TvT mastermind. He is a mad scientist in his own little laboratory here in Europe, doing what he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. And, well, how do you stop this guy?
ForGG is a contender for the title. He's not meant to be stopped in Challenger. This just doesn't make sense. With Happy not playing or not being knocked out before in this stage of the tournament, that I think people could have seen today. Maybe a few people would have said that could have happened. ForGG losing here? No way. No, it's not. No. Sorry.
Calm down, guys.
Not in Terran versus Terran.
No.
If he loses today, I tell you.
Oh, no. All right, well,
I'll do something.
Let's get into it then, as we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner as our red Terran. Once again, it is Millennium's ForGG. And up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Terran representing Brawl Esports. It is souL.
Yeah, these guys have never played before. This is the first official meeting between the two of them. And what a stage. And this would truly... A Laser versus Showtime, all right, that's a big upset.
Yeah.
souL beating ForGG? Woo! That is a massive, massive victory. And I don't even know the odds on this game and the likelihood of it to happen, but this is a true underdog. This is a massive, massive underdog here, souL. ForGG was the 3rd to pick. He was right after Showtime and Bunny. And then he was like, okay, who can I choose to be my victim? Oh, let me look at the Terran players, as I am one of the best with Terran versus Terran. Who are you? I don't know. Okay, this is good enough for me.
I don't know who you are.
This is good.
Oh.
And, you know, I mean, I'm sure that ForGG knows who souL is. That's just a little bit of an over-exaggeration. But that's kind of the process, where ForGG is a killer.
Yeah. And there's no doubt in my mind that souL was top of the list for him. Top of the list to go up against in regards to the Terrans that have actually come along here. Now, souL, unfortunately, has been fed to the lions, but can he survive the cage is the big question as we start things off on Iron Fortress. Not usual that we start things on Iron Fortress, actually.
No, not at all. Nice big map here between the two of them. And I'm wondering what... I don't even know anything about souL in playing StarCraft. I don't know how he plays. This is going to be... Excuse me, a learning experience for me to know what he's gonna like. Is it mech? Is it not? Is it bio?
Yeah, he's not had much international presence, right? I mean,
he's had none.
Those are the kinds of things we've covered. He's seen a little bit of success in EPS Poland, so he's one of those kind of national rising stars. Like we've had quite a few of them in WCS as of late, but never hit his stride internationally. So let's see if he can. To start things off against one of the biggest challenge of his entire career.
Yeah, this is massive. I mean, ForGG's looking at winning the entire season. I mean, he did last season, so being eliminated in Challenger ain't gonna happen in his books. This isn't gonna happen. souL has to defeat a champion contender before Premier League even begins. That's a massive, massive feat.
Oh, tough stuff. All right, well, for now. Command Center is going to be added on here for both players. On spot for souL, so he will get away with that. And actually, I think he got the first shot off there from the high ground as he just came down to actually greet that Reaper, so backs off.
Mirrored builds so far.
Yep. With the factories now on the way right next to those barracks so they can get those Hellions pumping out quickly. souL, obviously, 100% guaranteed knows how ForGG plays this matchup. Because everyone does. Like, he is one of the most well-documented Terran versus Terran players on planet Earth. And souL may even draw inspiration from ForGG and how he plays Terran versus Terran before. So he should be able to understand what is going to happen, but are you able to defeat it is the big question.
Yeah, that's the hard part. That is the hard part. He does have a bit of a better economy with his natural command center on location, ready to mine from immediately, whereas we're going to have to see ForGG morph into an orbital from his main base and lift over. souL does not have that problem. Starport for both there, very similar. Stall starts up a Widow Mine. So we are going to have, more than likely, a Widow Mine drop here, where the Widow Mine can be used defensively, but it also can be lifted up via a Medivac with the Marines that he's building 2x2 from that barracks that has the reactor on. And he could try to look for an opportunity, but Classico from ForGG with the Hellion production beginning already.
No surprises there.
A quick look from souL.
Has a bit of a peek around.
Sees the command center, the most important part, and has a cheeky jump into the main base, but is toasted on arrival. And both players going for a Medivac, so this is going to get a little bit messy because they built these units up quite fast, but they're also going to be throwing them at each other.
Odd how the fire was able to make him explode, but, well, you know, he's got a little gas canister on his back, I guess, when he's jumping around in his jetpack, so that Reaper, yeah, kind of makes sense. As now the Hellions going to move on forwards here. Probably see that bunker and back off a little bit. Oh, is he gonna go? No, he wanted the SCV.
All right, here comes the first attempt for souL throughout this series to deal damage to ForGG. They are going to headbutt Medivacs. Oh, ForGG took a slight turn to the left, and likewise did souL. So they're not going to join together in the center. But ForGG has a lot of Hellions outside this front door. You can run past that very...
Where's the Widow Mine? Where is the Widow Mine?
In the Medivac.
Oh. Okay, well, for the aggression, doesn't get anything done at all.
But ForGG has a lot of Hellions inside that main base.
Uh-oh.
And this is a problem.
Oh, dear.
This is a lot of units. Even though souL's on the other side of the map, can he deal with all those?
I don't think so. I don't think he has enough here. That one siege tank is going to be very important, but by the time it pops out, there's going to be Marines right next to it. So he's got to rally that out in a very, very quick way, down towards the left-hand side, good away from the Marines.
Whoa, stay away, stay away.
Oh, the SCVs, 13 have already gone down. Uh-oh, this is a toasting. This is really, really bad here for souL.
Viking down as well. A lot more SCVs, very low in hit points. Even the tank.
Oh.
And ForGG says 1, 2, 3. That's as easy as I'll make it be for the rest of the day. And souL is up against it. He is down 10, 11 workers. And the two aggressive setups collide. And one is coming out on top.
And 9 times out of 10, it is usually ForGG that comes out on top. The SCVs get pulled off the line once again to try and combat this, but he's just losing more and more and more. 24 workers have already gone down before the 10-minute mark.
Eventually cleans it up, but not after suffering 24 worker losses. And now, there's already 2 tanks and more Marines on the way. souL is in trouble. souL is meeting his maker when it comes to Terran versus Terran. And here we go with ForGG, one final push to end this guy, and he's going to take map number 1. And this was probably one of the most one-sided matches we've seen so far. But it was only the really way that this match shaped up. It was 2 very aggressive builds against each other, throw units at each other, but it was ForGG who just had better units. It was like a Widow Mine and 7 Marines versus 1,000 Hellions and Marines and whatever ForGG threw at him. And that is as easy as that for ForGG.
Yeah, and ForGG is not the kind of guy to let up once he has an advantage. As we already saw there, even with the follow-up push, he knows he's done huge amounts of damage. Go for the jugular, go for the kill. That's exactly what ForGG is all about.
Yeah, that was a fantastic game by ForGG, and I think we're going to see a lot of similar matches like that throughout this series. As ForGG is known for his aggression, he doesn't mess around. When there's a weaker opponent, he will just defeat him and knock him out of the game instantly. And that is why a lot of people love ForGG's style.
Yeah. Very, very aggressive, very, very tenacious with how it plays out. souL probably not the biggest fan of it at the moment because he has to obviously deal with that, and it is difficult. And now he's got to think about what he's going to do in these next couple of games. Does he take huge risks? Does he try and play macro? If he plays macro, he's going to take a lot of damage potentially off ForGG. Yeah. It's a really tough spot to be in here for souL.
Yeah, this is a rough one. He's got to find that soul within to combat ForGG, because this, like I said, is probably one of the most difficult matches that we have in Challenger. Out of every single game we've seen so far, I think this is the toughest one for the Challenger, who goes up against ForGG, who ForGG picked out from the crowd, picked out from all the players, is his 3rd pick. He goes, all right, I'm happy with playing this player.
Yeah. Vani Research Station is going to be our next map, where there is, once again, lots of room for him to try and do these kind of airlift tactics if he wants to go for those. Even plenty of room for aggression elsewhere. So he could easily make this work again, something similar. He loves his Hellions. We are always going to see these Hellions come out into play, and he can just sometimes barrel up the ramp and kill you off with a massive amount of them.
And that may happen here again. So let's see if souL can be able to turn this one around. It's very difficult because not only is he making entrance into the World Championship Series here for the second time, he did qualify in Season 3 of 2013 in Challenger, but was eliminated shortly after. You know, coming in today is, okay, I'm in Challenger, let's see who I can play against. You know, I'll give it a go. I haven't been here for a while. ForGG. You know, it's one thing to be able to play in Challenger and defeat a European player, but it's another to come into Challenger to beat one of the best.
Yeah. It is tough. It is tough. All right, so souL is in our game. We are just briefly waiting on ForGG to join as well. And at the moment, we're staring down at a 3-0 here if ForGG just continues to play at the level that he plays. But we're waiting for that spark of magic as well to see if souL can really just kind of even bring out a few games here and try and bring the fight to ForGG.
I mean, when we watched Showtime versus Alazer yesterday, you know, first map, we're like, all right, Showtime, this is probably going to be very difficult for Alazer. But, you know, he was able to turn it around and make it work. So, you know, there is that possibility. We've always had that magic within the World Championship Series that gives these players the opportunity to play. And sometimes we ought to defeat the better player. And this could happen again. But it's... this is not, like I said, it's
not easy.
It's not easy.
It's against a player like ForGG in his best matchup, and he shows this very early on in the picking stage.
Right.
So he is super confident going in here. I don't think there's a shred of nerves in ForGG's mind at all.
No.
All right, let's get into it. Game number 2, as we have spawning down to the south. It is our red Terran, currently 1-0 up. It is Mr. ForGG. And up to the north, we have our blue Terran representing Brawl. It is souL looking to bring out the upset here in this best of 5.
Okay. So Vani Research Station, very good for ForGG style. It's a great meching map. It's, you know, his Hellions running across the other side of the map. It doesn't matter what map it is. He's going to be able to make it work, but it's going to be very difficult to beat ForGG on this map once ForGG gets the ball rolling, if souL makes it to that stage of the game. And hopefully he can. It was a bit of a kind of a mishap in game number 1, and as one-sided as it was, there was not too much he could do because he chose a build, ForGG chose a build, they collided, and ForGG's build just was better because he had more aggressive units doing more damage earlier on. So it's difficult to judge souL just off that first game, and this hopefully can be a better one.
Hopefully. For now, he's actually taking himself a gas first here as souL. And ForGG decided to go over to barracks first. So a bit of a change up in the builds here. And very economical supply depots to get that SCV back to working or back to making a bit more income for yourself.
Yeah. So souL looking to take the fight to ForGG with his gas first hit. Leading up towards that aggression, more than likely that Banshee opening. But ForGG sending out that SCV scout, going to have a look-see. And that's something which souL is going to have to know, is that ForGG is a very fast player. He's going to be able to defend and attack at the same time. And he's not really going to be making too many mistakes here. So will he find an opening to make this work?
And is there room here for ForGG's Reapers to do a bit if he's going to go down that path? I mean...
Not really. There should be a Marine or 2 made. It's not like he goes straight towards a factory and a reactor. He will build a Marine or 2, and it should be enough to push this Reaper back.
Yeah.
If there's a second barracks, then it could become more problematic, but it's only 1, so...
Yeah. Well, SCV heads on in, sees the timing of the factory, and he knows exactly what's going on here as he even once again goes for the harassment here on the SCV, but souL is not having any of that.
Yeah, ForGG just going to move that SCV down, going to get rid of that second command center. And souL is moving out an SCV in a very interesting way. I think he's going to be putting the starport down here by this gold base, and he's going to try to really rush out. Oh, SCV spotted. SCV spotted.
But yeah, but did he?
It was in ForGG's vision.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Reaper would have chased it down.
Yeah. So maybe not quite.
I don't know. You should have saw that. That's a mistake from ForGG. And as much as I said that you shouldn't be making these things, he just made one.
Like, what's the point in actually going past the... Oh, delayed Reaper. Interesting. What's the point in actually going past the Watchtower if you're not going to use it as a visionary tool?
Yeah. Well, he's now like, wait a minute. Why have you got double gases and no starport?
Oof.
So I'm pretty sure he's already starting to think this is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, maybe he even saw it and then was like, I mean, you could say that he saw it and then wanted the SCV to be close to finishing it and then destroy it. But with a Hellion chasing this Reaper down, there's no way that ForGG can stop that starport from finishing.
Yeah, pretty difficult. Pretty difficult indeed. As he is just going to mosey on back to the safety of a few extra Marines here. Hellion could try and do some tickling damage towards those, but other than that, with these extra Marines out and about, very, very difficult now. This is interesting. I'm really surprised that it really feels like he just hasn't seen it at all. I mean, yeah, you're talking about the mind
great
games
delay on the starport. No Vikings anytime soon to deal with this Banshee.
Yeah, good jump up there. The Hellion's going to move in as well. So souL is getting the upper hand here, one would say.
Yeah, this is nice.
Gets himself the Reaper. But these two Hellions, a nice lineup there on some of the Marines. They will take quite a bit of damage.
And now it comes down to how well ForGG is going to deal with this, because this Banshee's almost out. It's on its way. The engineering bay only just started. Starport was delayed, so Vikings slow too.
And it's so close, so close that it is just a second away from jumping into these bases and starting to get kills. And the Natural has a few juicy kills if he wants to go for that. There's a lot of Marines in the main base, so maybe not necessarily wanting to go down that path.
No, Banshee. Very close. Viking halfway, though.
Yeah, despite that delay, still out and about pretty quick. But as we were saying before, Banshee's now here. He's actually going to go around. If it had gone straight... Well, I mean, there's not that much at the Natural, and that does give it a heads up.
Buying ForGG time to finish these turrets. Viking out now as well. So Viking goes to the right side, expecting Banshee to come from here. He's going to see that starport if he edges a little further. No.
Very close to. Very close.
All right, here comes the Banshee.
And it will find some weakness. So, finds at least 1 or 2 SCVs here. Still no Cloak. Oh, Cloak is finished actually now. I was looking at the wrong production tab. But the great scan.
Man.
Oh, my.
Oh, wow. And by the way, ForGG decided to go for Banshees of his own instead of a Raven. So, right now, souL has to be worried about his own detection. But he doesn't know Banshees are on the way yet. He may see it now. This Viking may push it back, though.
And the thing is, as a starport being out here so far in TvT is actually quite the commitment. Because if you don't do big damage with it, then that's going to take a while to get over there. It'll slow down your Viking production if it actually has to get back all the way. But still has not been spotted. There we go. Now he finds it.
Yeah, now both of them see it. There's a Viking that sees the Banshee, and the Banshee sees the starport. Engineering bay must start. He needs some detection. He's got none right now. It's only just started. He didn't expect ForGG just to go ahead, build a single Viking, and go for Banshees of his own. And this will have Cloak by the time it gets up there. There's going to be... right now, ForGG has a faster command center. He's got 2 extra SCVs. And this Banshee, if it doesn't die immediately, here, is going to have Cloak.
Yes, he has energy for 1 scan on his Natural that he is keeping hold of. So, and he is going to drop that scan pretty quickly. Can he actually gun it down before it gets out of range? Oh, it manages to sneak on out. Oh, that's not good here for souL.
No, and there's another Banshee on its way.
Oh, dear.
Get rid of the Marines. No more anti-air from the ground, just the Viking.
There's an extra scan. That's really quite costly.
Yeah, 2 scans. Another Banshee coming in. He's going to finish up turrets. Only 2, though. So there's definitely weak spots around the production, and also SCVs transferring from main to Natural, which ForGG will pick up on.
Cloak's up. Which way is he going to go in now, as souL can't exactly anticipate the entry point. Goes straight through the middle, though. There is a missile turret there, as well as the Viking that can try and slow this down, but he's going to pick up the guaranteed SCV kill there. And then try and maybe get a few more, dance out of the range of that missile turret in terms of the vision, so has to drop another scan. The Viking, with 1 more volley, should be able to get that, and yes, it will.
Yeah, 3 scans, though. It's a lot of scans already in this game.
Yeah, it is.
ForGG, SCV 42 to 37. Finishing up with a bunch of barracks now. Stim started much earlier. Tech Lab only just been built for souL. Massive advantages over ForGG.
Yeah, huge, huge stuff with the Stim, as you say, as far along as it is here. And ForGG is going to be pretty much on lockdown. That being said, you know, he's going to lose a few units here. Oh, but he picks off the Banshee as well through a scan. And the scans later on are less of an investment, as it would say, because obviously you've already mined what you need to across these two bases. So
first two medivacs are out, and ForGG is going to siege up on that natural. He's got units and a bunker at home, which souL does not know about. He doesn't know that ForGG is about to siege up.
Uh-oh.
And there's not much over there. Stim will be completed in about 40 seconds, which will assist ForGG's double medivac drop. The push out from souL can contain ForGG, but what does it matter if you're losing all your SCVs at home?
Yeah, does he have anything at home to deal with this?
Right now,
tank,
no.
One Marine.
It's not enough to deal with this.
Oh, dear.
It's a big move from ForGG.
Yeah, really, really well anticipated as well. He is going to start sieging up on the low ground. That one Viking does provide him ample high ground vision, but if the siege tank is this far back, it's going to be a slow push, and he's evacuating out. He has to retreat back and try and save his own base.
Yeah, Stim done and +1 attack in 10 seconds here.
Oh dear. Needs to clean this up. He needs the income. He needs the economy.
Yeah. And all the units are going back for souL, which allows ForGG just to move down that ramp very freely. Not looking good here for souL. Map number 1 was pretty one-sided. This one, very similar, unfortunately. ForGG just wrecking face.
Yeah, doing really, really well. Doing really well. What you expect from him, basically, is the Marines, once again, will push the command center away, making sure that's not going to do anything else. Viking puts a slight timer on the medevacs, as long as he keeps it alive and makes sure it's out of range of those Marines, obviously with the siege tank support fire that he has available. But here come 3 Vikings to aid against that.
Yeah, here we go. souL's going to try to clear this up.
Got to push him with a lot. Trying to keep the SCVs at the back as just some kind of support if they can actually get on back here. Will bring down 1 siege tank. Second one will end up for 13 workers went down though. That's a really good trade for ForGG.
Yeah, of course, a wonderful, wonderful trade. It's 1 base versus 2, and it has been for quite a few minutes now. And ForGG's secondary army is ready to go. This one is combat shields on the way, +2 attack on the way, +1 on the way. Yeah, he's going to move out and probably take a third while he's doing all of this.
I don't think he can break this tank line just yet, but I mean, anything he wants to do with his third base down and good to go just contains and sits around and waits for his opponent to bleed out.
Yeah, it depends on where the tanks are. He could drop on top of them.
True, true. It's still quite a strong army just moving
ultimately,
across.
ForGG's move that just wins the game slowly is just to suffocate this guy on 2 bases. But
yeah.
ForGG's not that type of player. He'd rather just go for the win.
Yeah, how many Vikings does he have actually? 3 against 0, so even the high ground advantage, and you're suffocating him even more if he's having to drop scans to try and defend. The stim up here to maybe bring down a Viking, actually a really good move there, but he loses a few of his Marines in the process.
Yeah, and Vikings are going to give the range for the sight for the range of the tanks to edge forwards against the souL, who'd have to be using scans over and over, which obviously doesn't want to be doing.
And here comes the pickup here from souL.
Yeah, he's going to attempt to attack this from behind, but he's clearly outclassed. Well, maybe just go for a complete drop on the other side of the map.
If he realized that all of those units are gone, then he could just quite easily kind of destroy this position. Yeah. He could just pick up all the Marines, drop them across those siege tanks, and that would be it from there. But he doesn't realize it. This is a gamble from souL. He knows it's a gamble. He knows he has to try and do something desperate to get back into this game.
Yeah. And he's heading towards the main base of ForGG, but ForGG has 2 tanks and quite a few Marines here too. Like, it's not as easy as just planting this down and hoping this works. ForGG already sees it.
Yeah, finds it. Could even gun down the medevacs if he'd have needed to, but wants to work on the units as quickly as possible. They will be brought down pretty darn fast. The 1 siege tank at the back will also fall, and he doesn't really have much left available.
No, he's stuck on 1 base, or stuck inside his main. What we can see from ForGG at this point is the units he's got on his third can just be lifted in that medivac and just boosted towards the natural of his opponent, where souL is struggling to think of a way to break out of this contain, and then ForGG just drops around the back and kind of kills him.
Yeah, very good moves here so far by the siege tanks as well, slowly pushing up towards this.
He's going to try drop on these tanks, but...
Uh-oh. And now, though, he's opened up a great hole for here. And that is completely negated, that medevac, by this move out by ForGG to really now start choking his opponent. Stims up, tries to get himself a siege tank, does grab 1. And how much more will he get here? Goes for it again, tries to get 1 as it's sieging up. Another kill goes over to him. He's thinning out the Marine numbers, but reinforcements could still come along here from ForGG as he's building up a massive army behind.
Yeah, he's got a huge army just waiting on the other side of the map.
Yeah, will get himself more SCV kills. These Marines aren't easily contested by what we're seeing here from souL. He has a higher Marine count, of course, in this position, but the Marines are going completely free, running an absolute muck behind this.
Yeah, it's a masterclass from ForGG in his favorite matchup. He's just making souL look like just another StarCraft player. And you never want to look like just another StarCraft player.
Oh, well.
And he is in so much trouble. But the problem is when you play against someone of the skill of ForGG, he can make anybody look like this.
Yeah, yeah.
We've seen him play some of the very best, and he can do this to anyone. And now souL going to try and unload from behind here. And give it his best attempt to break this.
The thing is that he's going to push on and try and break it at the same time as the drop comes in at the back. So he's committing everything to this with the Marines wrapping around the back here. And yes, he probably will be able to clean it up in the very end, but the boost into the natural is the big story.
Yeah, and now he's like, all right, I dealt with that army. Oh, wait, there's another one over here.
Oh, sad. Sad stuff here. souL really up against it. Got one of the toughest draws in the entirety of WCS. GG. ForGG takes game number 2 in flying colors. Yeah,
this just, you know, he doesn't do anything wrong. He just plays this matchup wonderfully. Game 1 and game 2, he just drives it in his victory force. And look at it, it's dominating here. And like you said, souL has one of the toughest matches, if not, no, it is the toughest match of the entire of the Europe Challenger. Yeah, very, very hard for him at this point. So now he has to kind of claw it back. But can he, before we get into game number 3? Yeah. ForGG is just looking on point, as he usually does in Terran versus Terran. Very few people in the history of the past 2 years of StarCraft 2 have actually beaten him in Terran versus Terran. Yeah, and the one person that did in Season 1 was the player that went on to win the entire thing, so... Yeah, that was quite a while back indeed. And actually, that being said, of course, we actually did have a loss in the previous season with him. You're right, so... Tough stuff, tough stuff. Coda is going to be our next map, of course, in this best of 5. As, I mean, what are the ways that souL tries to come back in this? Does he do something crazy from here? Does he go back to the standard play that he's been trying to do, which hasn't been working against ForGG? Yeah, it's very difficult when you're a player that is going to be so far behind in every type of area that you could lead in. Yeah. What to do against a player like ForGG, and to be honest, there's not much you can do when you are not good enough to, or not on that guy's level to be able to win. There isn't much you can do in a game of StarCraft, which is so very difficult. There's no luck aspect. There's nothing you can really hope to randomly get in his favor. You know, it's not a game of poker where you can have 10% chance and hit that 10% and win. Like, it's not. This is one of the most difficult games in the world to play, and you know, ForGG is one of the best at it. Yeah, he shows it. He really does show it. And again, on Coda, not really expecting anything but the best here from ForGG, who is seeing this as a speed bump on his way to try and be victorious in the whole of Season 2 of the World Championship Series. There's quite a few rivals to go up against him. Obviously, America has had a few more Koreans mixed in there with Stardust and Jaedong trying to now rival, but ForGG probably isn't scared of them either. No, ForGG is going to be our European shield against those players and hopefully meets them early and knocks them out. Because ForGG's our Europe guy, man. All right, let's get into it. Game number 3 now, as we have spawning down to the bottom. It is our blue Terran. It is Brawl's souL. And up to the top left, we have our red Terran representing Millennium. It is ForGG. Yeah, so it's very difficult for souL to even create a plan on what to do. He just has to take it step by step and say, this is just another Terran, and then try not to look at the guy's name tag when he's got units all over your base. Yeah. So just play what he usually does. I mean, obviously he's been able to beat in Grandmaster Terrans before and decent Terrans in the past, but now it's the time to just hope that ForGG doesn't do everything perfectly and that there are mistakes made. Yeah, and who knows what happens on ladder between these two. I mean, it could be the potential that souL never wins against ForGG, because very few people ever win against ForGG. He is just that solid. But he knew he was coming into a very, very difficult challenge, as did a lot of people on the Outlook know that he was going to have a rough time here. Yeah. But can he claw it back? It's his one opportunity here in Season 2 before months of inactivity in the World Championship Series circuit for the actual season of Premier itself. And if you do lose out on that, you lose out on a lot of potential points. Yeah, I mean, if he loses here today, I don't know if we'll see him for the rest of the year unless he, qualifies into Season 3, and it's a difficult task to do. The field is increasingly difficult.
Yep. A lot of young players really want to try and make the mark. Qualifying even for Challenger, I think, is 2,000 alone. So that's a really good chunk of change that everyone is hungry for. And then obviously if you're able to move on to Premier, the money only gets higher and higher.
Yeah. Well, both players have opened up very similar. Once again, it's going to be the Reaper expansion. One difference is that ForGG has gone over the other side to Scout, whereas souL has not. So ForGG can play this a little bit smarter here, can go in and say, okay, well, you've opened up Reaper here. If I sit back with mine and build a second one, and depending on what you do here, unless you build a blind second one yourself.
All right. Well, for now, one Reaper apiece are on the way. And let's figure out how it's going to go down. It's going to just be the reactor here for both teams, or both players.
ForGG might sit on the Selnaga tower. He's waiting for that Reaper, maybe. Where is it? Why is it not making its way over? He'll move in a second. He won't want to wait here for too long.
No, not at all. Let's see if he has been able to head on back. Of course, souL doesn't have too much information at all in this game. Did not send a SCV scout out. So things have kind of rounded up from there. Not too much of difference between the both. And ForGG obviously bringing his Reaper back as well. Doesn't want to go too far forwards, just in case there is the potential of his opponent able to dive on it from the high ground.
Yeah, ForGG brought his Reaper back because he had no idea where the other one was. So he's like, did he come around a weird way? I don't really have any units at this moment, so kind of need that Reaper back at home. But second gas coming in here for souL. So Reaper, expansion, lining himself up towards potentially a Cloak Banshee again, with the gas income that he's got. But I think we'll see ForGG more than likely, unless he's just saving up the Reaper to kind of build a little force he pushes out with a small little army. He could send that out soon to get some more follow-up information on what's going on in souL's base.
Would be nice. There are limited ways to really kind of jump in, of course, here with the one you're being defended and the bunker being about to be finished. So difficult to try and wiggle your way through, but is he just going to make a ton of Marines with Hellions and try and drop them with a medevac? I mean,
yeah, that's what it looks like at this moment. ForGG's building up this little squad of units.
And it's scary.
To do what he does best.
Yep.
But there is going to be soon a Banshee. If the Banshee's at home, the Banshee can actually deal with this quite well. But where is the Banshee? Is it on the other side of the map by the time this comes across? Because then he will not deal with this well.
Could be. souL is now moving his Reaper over towards that side of the map to see if he can get any intel himself. But if he hops up that cliff, he is going to be greeted by a lot of firepower. Oh, he does not want to be going up there. He has to go around.
Even then, he's not going to know what he's up against. There's 2 Hinds that will deny this scout.
Yeah.
3 Hellions.
Oh. Well, seize the command center, but that's it. And what does that really tell you? He saw 4 Hellions, yes. But, I mean, that's a normal number of Hellions from ForGG at this time.
And here comes the attack. Hellions already on the way. The Medivac will pick up these guys as they go, yo, don't forget about us! As they get lifted in. And now it's time for the attack. The Banshee, almost out. Quite a few Marines too.
Siege tank very, very fast here for souL, knowing that this is definitely a potential.
I think he might be alright here. Well, he's definitely not going to die like he did in game number 1. And if the Banshee's at home, which it is, it's, well, Banshee's leaving. That's kind of sad, because that's helpful.
Yep. Looks like it's just going to be a straight push up the ramp here.
Yeah, he doesn't know about that bunker, but it's not going to take too much to bring it down either.
No, not at all. Goes straight onto it. Going to easily fire down on that, and, well, SCVs get pulled, and he's barely able to, well, not keep it alive, as the SCVs a little bit too late. That being said, though, Siege Tank is on high ground.
Yeah, Banshee there, but no cloak right now.
Very, very low. Good control there by ForGG to get on top of it. As soon as it actually moves in, sees the Siege Tank on the high ground now and has to back off. We're going to go straight for it, though.
He's got the Banshee in his eyes.
Oh, is he going to be able to get? No, the repair.
Repaired.
Very good.
Yeah, nice repair there by souL. Could have lost that Banshee.
And he boosted away. He boosted before to try and find something there, so he's going to have to drop all these units, and he loses some in the main. That's a really nice little defense.
Yeah, very nice there by souL. It does kill off more than what ForGG had, but ForGG's not done yet. He's moving across the map with another little attack.
Oh, God.
But with the Banshee and tanks, this is good. This is fine for souL. And it's a good defense. Well done.
Yeah. So he will be okay, as he's got himself 32 workers against 35. Not exactly in the lead, but he has enough defense here to deal with anything that is going to come along for now.
Yeah, he's fine. The Banshees can get some value from them too if he starts moving across the map and dealing damage. Just a single Banshee. He's got to be careful not to lose it in the middle of the map, but yeah, this is nice.
Oh, if we could get a tank, that would be brilliant.
Yep.
Here comes the Vikings, though. And 2 for 1.
Oh, scan there by ForGG.
Yeah, and having to deal with the Viking, I don't think he was anticipating that. So he's actually just going to go straight for the fight here. And he's going to lose the... Uh-oh, this is...
Yeah, 2 scans to kill the Banshee.
He's just going to land them.
There's units behind.
There we go. He just lands the Vikings straight on top of these. But it was an ambitious move. He felt that he could try and get them, but...
Yeah, he didn't know about the reinforcements. So.
Yeah. Well...
good setup here from souL. He's going up towards 5 barracks. 5 barracks now. Tanks and starport on the way for his units, whereas ForGG currently doesn't have Stim on the go. So as you can see, we do have our newish player in the WCS in a decent position. He defended that quite well the first couple attacks.
I mean, this is definitely the best position he's been in all series long.
Yes, this is correct.
So... he can try and make a bit more of this now, as ForGG still slightly ahead in the income. Not by much, of course, but every little's going to count, and he's making really efficient use of his minerals, actually, here as ForGG. So really trying to grind out as much as possible and get as much efficiency out of this, but souL is sending units everywhere. Marine to the left, Marine to the right, keeping a spot on things. Marine in the middle for the watchtower vision. So anything that's coming across the map will have a harder time of actually getting there, because he knows ForGG is likely to try some harass.
Yeah, this is nice. This is very nice.
Getting there before the missile turret's done. Brilliant stuff. Vikings will shut that down. For 5 workers, though, not too bad.
Yep, very nice moves here by souL. And this is what we wanted to see, a challenge. He's putting up a fight here to ForGG.
ForGG will not be too phased, of course, because he is the, well, in his eyes, the stronger player. And for now, he'll just buckle down and play this out a little bit further. Scan does drop, sees the infrastructure here in ForGG's base for now. Yeah,
ForGG has everything that souL has, but slower. This is a good setup here for souL. He's building a lot more units a lot earlier on. But is he going to spot this drop? Because as much as souL is a little bit faster than ForGG in the majority of things here, one drop could ruin his day if he does not have units in position. 2 tanks and a bunch of Marines.
I don't think he's going to see it. Oh, that's a bit of a shame there for souL. He'd spread out before, and actually he's going to cross paths with him.
He's got 3 tanks in the main base anyway, so he's fine.
Yeah, that is quite a bit. And he's going to drop straight on one of them, not realizing that the tank line goes down back a bit further, gets a tank, but the sacrifice of his own tank.
8 Marines on the other side of the map here for souL.
At least he saw this flying out with his other medevac, but...
there's nothing there at the moment to defend it, but ForGG moving forwards, having a look around, see what he can get.
Getting aggressive. How many tanks has he got? He's got 3 against 4 at the moment, but they are quite spread out because obviously souL was a bit fearful of that push towards the middle.
8 Marines from souL, planted.
He's going to lose the medevac if he's not careful,
wow,
though.
It's just a little bit unlucky there.
And there's plenty of reinforcements to deal with that, so that could have lasted a little bit longer, trying to get some of the SCVs himself. Only 2 end up falling.
And ForGG's going to put a bit of a light contain on. He's going to edge forwards, probably go ahead and expand to his 3rd base very shortly.
Yeah.
But good position for ForGG.
Powerful stuff with the 3 Vikings he has out in the field compared to none at the moment. And even if he could get a supply depot or 2, that is a good pickup here for ForGG.
Yeah, 2 supply depots. A bit of a stranglehold on his opponent, who's going to try and do what he did before.
Whoa.
But this time with quite a few Marines. ForGG, though.
And he actually, souL dropped quicker than him, so I don't know why he's taking this fight.
Yeah, that was nice for souL.
Yeah, souL got a much better engagement, and he got all the Vikings just then. Oh dear. What is going on in ForGG land? This is...
If souL can break this now, he's got a lot of Marines behind this. He's going to try and break this. This is one of the biggest moves that he's had the entire series.
And he's really trying to jump on top of this, and he will be able to very, very easily, pushing all of this back. ForGG has to try and evacuate out in the wrong direction, and now he drops a scan, sees no 3rd base here to souL, and there's not much left here for ForGG.
Yeah, very good play here by souL. He had a much better setup because of the way he was so good defensively before. And here entering this part of the game, even though ForGG has better upgrades on the way with that +2 attack, he simply does not have the same army value at this point.
Not at all. Not at all. Very difficult to try and hold on. He's only got himself 1 siege tank against 4, and this can easily just completely reverse. He can just soft contain ForGG from here, grab himself his own 3rd base, and be in an amazing position.
Yeah, he's taking his 3rd now. ForGG needs to kind of lock tight on 2 bases. I would probably, better for ForGG is to sit down on 2 bases for a bit and send out drops towards that 3rd of his opponent, which he knows he's going to be taken. But he's got to be careful not to get overrun on his natural while doing this.
Constantly dropping the scans, and he's just going straight into the natural, right behind where a little bit of the defense is set up.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a nice move. And unless the tanks can actually die off before he actually even gets the proper siege up, one of them did fall. The Marines are going to clean this up pretty well, actually, for ForGG.
Yeah, pretty good defense. Only losing 4 SCVs there.
Yeah.
Really good there by ForGG. Not the best move there. And unneeded from souL. He's got 3 bases. He's got a better setup, but now he's actually given ForGG the larger army head-to-head, including 2 medevacs and 3 Marines that are on the other side of the map not being used. ForGG smells a bit of weakness. He knows that that was a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, no need to really go for that. Again, the contain was probably a better bet. But now, just drop in some Marines around this, do a little bit of splash damage to it, force a repair maybe. But that's all he's going to get for that 1 Marine.
Yeah, I think ForGG might pick up everything from this position in the center of the map and might boost down left in a minute.
Always got to be careful of that little SCV being a sneaky guy down towards there, keeping an eye on things. Loses that medevac, loses the Marines. Scan drops again, sees no 3rd. So souL feeling pretty content with his position.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good setup, and he will start to take the lead again very shortly. But the problem is his army is a little bit small. His economy great, so the longer the game goes, the better shape he will be in. But because of that move he just made, there is an option for ForGG to take a fight, which souL, if out of position or too few in numbers, may lose.
He may. He's going in for it now. He's going to try and catch all of those siege tanks. Will kill both of them off before they're able to get a volley. But was it too much of a commitment against the amount of Marines we're seeing here from ForGG as they push forwards? He had 2-1 all the way during that fight, was +2 weapons has only just finished up for souL.
And now he's in really big trouble as ForGG crushes that army in the center of the map. And the question must be, why was souL out there? Did he just want to make sure that ForGG never crossed that halfway line? Should have been back in a more defensive position, because now ForGG's coming for the win.
Yeah, going for smells blood in the water. Of course, we have the +2 armor here for souL, but can it make the difference as his Marines come filtering through again? The Marines for ForGG are moving forwards. They were trying to get towards that siege tank at the back, and it's going to be trade for trade here as souL, well, he's going to lose another siege tank at the front, but
ForGG's going to keep going for this.
Does he have enough, though?
Problem is ForGG's got to get towards that 3rd. The economy's still heavily in favor of souL, and he's going to start to have a bigger army soon if ForGG doesn't do anything about it.
Yeah, he needs to kind of just cordon off this area and really put pressure on here. There's only a few reinforcements out. He needs to move these siege tanks forwards probably and try and get a good position, but at the same time, souL is going to try and pounce on that, moves on forwards, tries to get to those. That's a bit of a sacrifice, though, of units. The Marines coming in from the left-hand side, get themselves a siege tank. These movements have been really strong by ForGG.
He can't break it, and ForGG's going to get towards this 3rd command center, towards all these SCVs, and he is just going to capitalize on that fight from the middle. And this command center is going to go down. So as good as it was 3 base versus 2, it is now reversed. ForGG has 3, souL down to 2, and souL, who was looking good in the mid part of this, has now turned things upside down, and it is in ForGG's favor.
ForGG somehow, some way coming back from the brink of destruction, and brilliant engagements here in the mid. It's very, very difficult now for souL to really recoup any of this. Even one of his siege tanks isn't sieged up, but 2 of them, a second one even going to fall there with the last one remaining up on this high ground. But it's not going to be enough to hold off against this unbelievable play by ForGG.
ForGG get in time. Absolutely wonderful display of Terran versus Terran, understanding when to fight, when not to fight, and how to come back in a game that he was behind in. ForGG excellence once again. And he's going to close this up with a 3-0, and he's going to move back to Premier League exactly where he belongs.
50 SCVs get rapidly destroyed here at the very end of this game. As souL, that is it. He is going to go all the way down to 0 supply by the looks of things in this game. So unfortunately for souL, it is done. GG. ForGG will move on to Premier League. Commiserations to souL, who gave it a damn good shot. But when you're going up against ForGG and Terran versus Terran, it is very difficult.
Yeah, when you're going up against one of the best, you've got to just pull out something unbelievable, which we saw yesterday with Showtime versus Alazer, but that was not to be a repeat of today. ForGG claims his, again, another position in Premier League, and he's going to be challenging for the top.
Yes, he is. All right, so that does it for our second series of the day, of course. And we've got plenty more on the way, though. So join us after the break when we'll have more WCS Challenger action on the way.